more attention TitanX garners, the more hate seems to come out of the woodwork. So is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Like, why the more the hate that comes in? I know the answer to this question, but I'd love to hear you say it. Like, the value of the FUD. What's the value of the FUD?
There's a lot of value. So for the people that have read Reality Transurfing, there's this concept called the pendulum. And the pendulum, you can kind of look at it as an energy structure in space, where the more people attach emotionally to that energy structure. So you have the positive side. For example, a gym or a certain workout routine can have a pendulum. And then if people get attached to the pendulum, it actually benefits their life, but they kind of become part of the pendulum, the energy structure. The thing is, the way pendulums work is it doesn't care if your energy is good or bad. As long as you give energy to the pendulum only gets stronger and it swings harder. So the FUD, the people that FUD and hate TitanX, they feed the pendulum with the most energy humanly possible, more than the actual supporters do. So from a very kind of universe, kind of energy perspective, it's great. It's so good because they're feeding the pendulum. They're just fueling the pendulum without even knowing it. They think that stopping the swing, but in fact, it's swinging even harder because of them.
They're giving it more energy. Yeah. Fuel on the fire. It's very true. Saray Ox says long-term miners is like Black Friday, always getting something at a discount. That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
Next question for you. In the last of the Eat the Frog series of questions, unless of course I think of something else. There has been accusations, of course, that V1 is not actually there to support the ecosystem, but instead is there to support Jake Sharp's ending miners.
This is the interesting thing. Yeah, I've seen this a lot. This is another topic of discussion. So I like explaining things to analogy. So let's go back to first principles. What can the V1 do? It can trigger a buy and burn. It can increase the cap, trigger a buy and burn. Users can also trigger the buy and burn if the cap increases. And then it pushes up the price on market. How exactly does that make your life worse? I don't get it. Yeah, if the V1 moves, it's beneficial to everybody. It's not beneficial to my wallet specifically.
That's a good point. And the other, I mean, the counterpoint to that is I see people say the same thing, like, well, he's just pushing the V1 button when he wants to sell his miners. And then the counter question is, well, what exactly are you going to do when you sell your miners? Press the V2 button. So what's the difference? And then of course the other long-term question, or the question is like, oh, he's just dumping, and everybody's just dumping. Why dump and the price go down? Well, okay. What are you going to do when you get your TitanX on the market and it's up 30x? You're going to dump it. Maybe, depending on what's out there. But it's just the psychology of it's kind of like the point the finger. You don't do that, because if you do that, I won't be able to do it when I want to.
Yeah, and that's the thing. People can actually put alerts on ETHCAN or whenever the V1 triggers. It's a global thing. Everybody can enjoy it. So it's interesting. So my miners, I did minimum 60 days. So I've had like 3 or 4 miners come out on day 28.
Mm-hmm.
And then most of my miners haven't even come out yet, which is interesting. Because I have like the minimum 60-day rule. I kind of follow that with most of my miners.
Yeah.
Personal. Because I also put my personal money in this project, like a lot.
And one of the guys that I have come to respect for just tokenomics analysis and all the game theory, I asked the same question, like, thoughts on V1. And he's like, as long as it's stabilizing the system, doesn't really bother me either side of the coin. Operating costs are a bitch, and it is what it is. It's stabilizing the system, and there's need for that.